So I remember when we very first started talking about getting livestock, and I wanted to know everything and how do I handle them and what do I need to do and how do I feed them? And I used to ask all the questions. You did no research whatsoever.
Yeah, I did.
No.
Yeah.
And you really just didn't care. So you decided you were just going to get in there and do it. What could go wrong?
What's the worst that could happen?
What is the worst that could happen?
I asked myself that before I did it.
So.
And the life usually shows me.
On a regular basis, life shows you what's the worst that could happen.
Right.
So we've had our fair share of successes, but then whenever we let you get involved.
And because you demanded it, YouTube, this is number 2 of the wild animal experiences on the farm. So
thanks for your comments. Keep those coming.
We had a goat named Big Bill. Big Bill was a heck of a goat. He was a brute. He was a beast. I bought these 2 goats for $75 off of a friend of ours. And at the time I was working at the post office. So I was working a ton. So I had to get these fences finished and got these goats over there. So my friend's like, hey, I've got to get these things on my property. Come get them next week or whatever. So I finally got the fence and I'm thinking, man, we're going to really into this homesteading thing and we're really going to get into there. And I mean, I'd seen the goats from afar. They looked fine. But he had big old horns. He was impressive. But
he was impressive.
What's the worst that can happen? Okay, let me tell you what the worst that can happen is. So we get the goat in the trailer. We get the goats in the trailer and drive them over here. We drop them off in the pen that I had created. Big Bill then begins to ram the fence. So if you never really had a goat try to ram the fence, goats will fight you until they die. I did not know that.
He just kept hitting.
Boom,
just
boom,
hitting it.
Boom.
Drop his head and just go straight for it.
And so we were really close to getting a priest to try to cast the demon out of this goat, man, because he was a savage and he was huge. Okay, so Big Bill was with us for quite a while. We had an unfortunate incident where he did pass away. But
do you remember the time Big Bill decided to back me up against a T-post?
I don't. Tell me.
He dropped his head. I was in the pasture with him. You're not supposed to let your guard down around any male animals.
Or people.
All of my animals knew that if you came after me, we would eat you. Right? I made that well known.
Yeah.
They all knew.
They should understand what happened to the chicken.
I'm just saying.
Name, you wouldn't hear that all.
Right. So I was in the pasture doing some work and Big Bill walked up to me and I'm like, oh, how are you doing, big guy? And he dropped his head and he slowly just pressed me into a T-post. And I'm just standing there like, oh, darn, I didn't bring a stick or a gun or nothing. It was, and then he just kind of got over himself and turned and walked away.
You know, as a man, I think as any kind of man, you got to show everyone who's the boss.
He showed me.
Yeah. And at that point, you're like, all right, fair.
Actually, we were good friends. I liked that goat.
He wasn't the best.
But he wasn't afraid to fight.
No, he wasn't. He fight dogs, people, chickens, whatever. So then, after Big Bill, come a little goat named Freedom.
That's because he was born on the 3rd of July.
3rd of July. He had a sister named Liberty. Remember that? So we got this goat named Freedom. Now, Freedom did everything with me, man.
He was a bottle baby.
He was a bottle baby. We changed the oil in the car together, and he would like at me and run at me and play. Well, anyway, puberty happened. And then all of a sudden, he started running down my children, which for a dad, that's fantastic. You just see your kids screaming and running, and this goat is just full on chasing them. And the goat's like,
he wasn't a big goat.
No, he wasn't a big goat. He wasn't hurting them, but he would chase them down and knock them down. So I was like, Josh, why don't you go outside? He's like, goat. So you'd see them all stand at the back door waiting for the goat to circle the house. Because let me tell you, when you have the fences, if you can throw water through it, a goat can get through it. That you could not.
Especially if you're stupid enough to name him Freedom.
Yeah, that
was the worst name for him.
He'd come up over the fence, side of the fence, but they all stand and they'd wait until Freedom was on the other side of the house and they'd bolt out. So obviously something had to be done about Freedom. And he did roast him, and roasted goat is not my favorite, but
Freedom was delicious.
She loved it. She absolutely loved it. So that's our goat story. We got out of the goat business altogether, and then we transitioned into hogs. Now, I have a friend who's a railroad conductor, and I was telling him, I said, what's the worst thing you've ever hit? And he goes, man, the worst thing I've ever hit on the rails was a herd of wild hogs. It'll almost derail a train. These things are just solid muscle, man. So I had these 2 hogs that I was getting ready to take to butcher. Now, we're not good at loading hogs, and some things you just
We've gotten better.
At this point, we were not, though.
At that point,
So
we didn't know what we were doing.
The trailer, they get out of it. It was the yard. It was crazy. But there's a few things, like Sana says, my lack of research, which I'm famous for. My lack of research. First off, I didn't know pigs don't jump. So you have to build a chute to get them into the trailer because they will
with
not
a ramp.
Jump. Yeah, they
got to
have
go
to get
up.
up. They do not jump. So I had some back issues, and I'm going to do a whole series on my back issues because it was really a God thing to why I don't have those anymore. But I had a back issue, and there was a certain in-law of mine who was here visiting, and there was a 73-year-old man helping me load these hogs. Now, the 73-year-old man decides he was going to manhandle the hogs, much like I decided I was going to do the cow. It was very similar. Well, anyway, I have never seen a 73-year-old man ride a hog before until that day. That hog took off with him on it.
It was impressive.
And they were going together.
Yes.
And it threw him down, threw the glasses down. I was like, oh, man, we're fixing to bust a hip. This is not going to be a good deal. Well, my friend pops up, my mentor pops up, grabs my brother-in-law.
You didn't mention which in-law.
Yeah, well, these people don't know. So that's I messed up. You can edit that out later or not.
Grab the in-law.
Grab the in-law, right? And just
with two hands.
Put hands on him. He says, what are you doing? You need to get in here and help us now. Put hands on him. And I'm thinking, now my in-law had a past where a lot of folks don't grab up on him. It's just not something that doesn't happen. And in the moment, what are you going to do? You get shook up by a 73-year-old man. Now, I'm laughing. I thought this was so funny. They're having this little tussle, and it's about to break out into a fist fight, which is fantastic.
I wonder if in-law ever wants to speak into that situation.
I know, right? He needs to send like a return video to this. He just shook him up. And now the in-law happens to be a man of the cloth. So there wasn't a whole lot he could do. And I knew that coming into this. And I'm like,
well, technically, the 73-year-old man is too.
Oh, they both are.
So you got two ministers.
I got two preachers out here fighing, fist fighting and riding hogs over this. So
yes.
This is a fantastic situation.
And the pigs were not in the trailer.
I'm like this, just laughing, watching these two. I'm like, Reverends, calm down. We need to get the pigs in the trailer.
We shouldn't be hanging out with pastors.
Yeah, I know, man. So this is going on. It's fantastic. We got the clergy fighting. We're about to have a crusade breakout. They're going at it over here. So I'm like, you know what? I've had enough. Now here's where the man comes out. Man. I grab this pig and I body slam it into the trailer. One of my finest moments with a bad back. I grab the other one and I body slam it into the trailer. And I showed it who was the boss. Best ribs I'd ever had because I pre-tenderized the pigs is what happened. I pre-tenderized the pigs and we got them down to butcher. But those are four of the stories, if you watched the video before this and this video, of the animals you have. And we were absolute greenhorns coming into this. We had no idea.
No experience whatsoever.
And that is the mantra of our channel, of our channel here is we failed a lot, but we failed forward. So it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall.
We do the hard things.
It really is. You got to do the hard, and you're going to miss.
We fail daily.
But some of the stories looking back on it now, when you got preachers fighting over hogs, and
So, do you remember the last set of pigs that we took to the butcher?
Mm-hmm.
And you have me out there, and we have the trailer backed up to their door, and now we have a ramp because we've gotten educated.
Got a good goat ramp now.
We got a ramp set up.
They can't turn around in. They can turn around, they'll get out.
Okay, stay with me here.
Mm-hmm.
We have cattle panels next to the trailer so the pigs can't go anywhere. We are set up. The pig can't go anywhere but in the trailer. Except that I was holding one of the cattle panels and you kept telling me, don't let the pig get out. The pig pushes under the trailer and gets past that hog panel and takes off in the yard. And you're like, well, what are we going to do? We got to go get him.
You do.
So we're wrestling this pig. We're chasing him all over the yard. I'm as frustrated as it comes. We get him back over to his gate. We set up the hog panel. We adjust the ramp to make sure it's just so. He shoves past the ramp and just kind of hops up into the trailer.
He jumped.
They can't hop,
That one did.
but he kind of managed to, and he just, not using the ramp, just kind of walked into the trailer. And I'm just as frustrated as I could be. And he's like, well, that worked out. And he slams the door shut and off he goes. And now we have pork chops.
Yeah, you learn as you're going through it.
We have no control.
You don't, but you can guide, and you have to learn that you can't. A lot of times you think you're going to make something happen. I want to be the man. I'm going to do this. Man, that's the fastest way to find yourself on your back and your pride completely destroyed.
with your wife hollering at you to get out from under the cow's feet.
I was in and out of consciousness.
Move.
That thing hit me hard.
Move.
I was standing and then I wasn't.
Move.
It was a moving experience.
You should have moved out of the way.
I should have. We should move on from this joke.
Let's move along.
Move along. Nothing to see here. So
these animals have taught us a lot.
And a lot of times too, I'm gonna give you one little freebie here. If you're ever pushing a round bell into your pasture, don't push your whole head on it, because one time fire ants got in my beard.
One time, dude, that's happened a lot.
Fire ants, you feel like you're on fire. I don't know if you're from the South and you're watching this, man, when they bite, dude. Woo. So anyway.
And if you have a round hay bale that's been sitting for more than 5 minutes, it'll be full of fire ants.
But this isn't something you fall into. This isn't something that just happens. This is something you fight for every day, every hour, every minute. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of loss. There's a lot of funny. Some things ain't funny when it happens. We fought a bobcat for a while, killed a bunch of turkeys. That was a tough deal. We never did get the best of that one.
We wake up every day. We put one foot in front of the other. We do the hard things, and we laugh at ourselves a lot.
And we fall forward.
And we fall forward.
Yeah. I would just say stay away from water parks. And other than that, little spoiler alert, through my company, we're going to Six Flags in May. You're going to get a whole series of videos over this, because I'm sure some nonsense is
supposed to share the future.
Stick with the channel. It's going to get better.
Like and subscribe. I'm going to try to get him on a roller coaster. He doesn't do roller coasters.
So here's why. I spent 2.5 hours mapping the earth in the back of a Chinook in Afghanistan.
Excuses.
That's it. I'll never do it again.
Excuses.
Numerous times. You want to talk about just, nope. Ain't for me.
There's this roller coaster. I think it's called Cliffhanger.
No.
You literally dangle. Oh, man.
I gotta tell some army stories too.
Later.
Yeah, I'll get to
we don't have time.
The army side of it too. Anyway.
That bull calf will kick your butt, and so will the billy goat.
Billy goat was tough. I grabbed his horns and tried to show him who's boss. We'd fight. He was strong, man. But
watch out.
A goat you can handle. A cow, no, sir.
We've learned to handle the cows. Do you know how we learned how to handle the cows?
I
keep you in the house.
We stand back until it's done.
I keep you in the house.
We back the trailer in and we close the door.
Do you know who's my best cattle hand?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the one who's the most naturally inclined to handle these cattle is Haley.
Haley's fantastic.
My daughter accidentally fell into being like the cow whisperer. She's amazing at it.
We need to have her on the channel.
One of these days. Yeah.
Like and subscribe. There'll be more.